Well, here's the problem, right? There's a notice in the Federal Register today. Out of all the notices that should be important to somebody, there's a notice regarding somebody wanting to get acknowledgement for a military service record that was acquired while they were an undergraduate, right? They want to get credit for military service while they were an undergraduate. Here's the problem: what that demonstrates is evidence of significant abuse of political office by a senator here in Texas who at the time was on the Intelligence Committee and now wants to purport himself to be a member of the Judiciary Committee. And I contend he needs to be removed from office and he needs to be indicted. And just this past weekend, I I revisited the original charges in consideration of what I understood to be the claim, that should be enforced against him in order to attempt to have him removed from office and then prosecuted. There's an article, the 52nd Fighter Wing, an outstanding unit, dated for April 15th of 2021. Now, this year, April 15th, was on two different levels completely defaulted. April 15th is presumably tax day. This year they did something different with taxes, didn't they? Yes, they did. And secondly, April 15th is also the day that the first budget recommendation from the President of the United States is due to be presented to Congress. They didn't do that because they did an abuse of parliamentary procedure, or rather, abuse of official legislative procedure with Senate concurrent resolution number 556, right? That it was supposed to be the replacement for what was supposed to be the official congressional budget process. And it's horrendous. It is absolutely unacceptable what they're doing. So if you say you don't have time, or for whatever reason that's not your priority, fine. But you don't have any justification in either trying to simulate at this level. And the problem is that you can't fly blind and say you're entitled to everything else that has the intention of leaning on this level so that you can get what you need at that level, if you're not going to actively pay attention to what is actually going on at that level. Because now we have the question of, well, what was going on the summer before last summer during the climate change protest, when I was on another level without being on video, tracking specifically how public notices made by the way, people who were currently at the time candidates for the office, including the office of the president, were hedging their notices on green energy and their support of climate change protest in conjunction with contract awards through the DoD, including some that were absolutely harrowing, and including some that demonstrated fulfillment of certain aspects of contract terms during last year, including in connection with charges related to surveillance using drones. And how did that factor into the alleged energy transition that's going on right now? Putting a param of blinders on certain areas so that you can try to maintain a semblance of plausible deniability, it's not any longer acceptable. All right? And that's what I mean. You have to look at that. Because saying, well, you don't look at, well, then, I mean, that pretty much just cut off everything else that could have been a part of whatever could have yielded today. And that's not just sabotage. What that means is you lack authority. And you did not say you were delegating your authority to me, but you refused to take responsibility for the authority you already had. And now we're in this situation where, by so doing, this allows for very dangerous people to operate as if they are empowered and they are authorized to call themselves representatives of the people. I am not allowing myself and my people to be represented in this way. If you refuse to take responsibility, then that's on you. But at the same time, I am not allowing for this to be maintained. I showed up in the office of John Cornyn with evidence of exactly what this is. And what did he do? What did the members of his staff do? See, this is one of the few times that I had two witnesses. I had two witnesses and I called somebody. John Cornyn needs to be removed from office and he needs to be brought up on charges immediately. It's 2:07 p.m. in Texas. That means it's 3:07 p.m. in Washington, D.C.